Hi guys, I'm eating a cookie. Oh, welcome to Charity's Bubble USA, your #1 channel. I hope you're doing fine. Coming from school, guys. So I want to do another video. Like I said, I'm going to be doing my videos in transit because that helps. And it makes me still be on time and still not stay for a long time without posting videos. I'm coming from school right now. It's around some minutes to 4 p.m. It's in the evening. So I decided to do a video replying to a comment. Actually, it's not a question, but it's a comment. But when I looked at that comment, I was like, I would do a video on that because it talks about married couples when they migrate to come to the US, and when they win the green card, so what happens? So that's what I'm going to talk about today. But before that, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't subscribed. Please like my videos, share them with your friends, share them with your relatives, and this is good things, you know. It's not only about the DB lottery. It's also about coming to the US, being successful, coming to the US when you're married and keeping your marriage. It's all about that, guys. So I'm going to talk about that. My name is Charity Ngangam. This is Charity's Bubble USA. So let's talk about you have been married and you won a DB lottery. So the comment was like this, that that's why he said that when people come to the US, the women have more rights, and that's why there are so many divorces. So that was kind of his comment, and then I tend to differ, because when you say that women have rights, people have divorce or whatever, then it doesn't really create the best picture of coming or immigrating to come and live in the USA. So let's start with you've won a DB lottery. Of course, your life has changed. And we have our culture. The African culture is a little bit different from the American culture, like totally different. And you find that things change and people change. But as an individual, when you come to the US, you always have to think about like the purpose that you came with. Because, for example, and I'm talking about this because I've been married for a long time. My kids are older, and I haven't divorced my husband, and I don't think that I am going to divorce him in a lifetime. But why maybe people divorce, or why people don't get along together? There's so many things. Now let's look at the African culture. Although I know that so many things are changing, and if you look at if you read more and you look more at what's going on even around you, wherever you are in Africa, you find that there is also the rate of divorce that is going on very high. There is single parenthood. There is people who had kids but they never got married, or either they're widowed, they're separated, or whatever. So we have all that, and that happens in the whole world. So you cannot say that coming to America is what is going to cause you a divorce. Like, that would be very, very, very wrong. But when you look at the African culture and you look at the American culture, it's very, very, very different. The man that is in the African man and it's a little bit different when it comes to the marriage, because the man is the head of the family, of which even here in America, the man is still the head of the family. But, and this is where people don't understand very well, is that you find that most of the time, you find that the man will make most of the decisions in Africa. They will make most of the decisions. Not everywhere, but most of the time they will make all the decisions, because they're the head of the family. Of where sometimes you would go and ask for something from a family and they will say, oh, I have to wait for my husband. Yes, consultation is good and everything, but you find that if the husband says no, whether it was a good thing or it was a bad thing, then it's not going to be done. And I've seen that whereby some people have reached out to me and they're like, I won the DB lottery, but my husband say no, we cannot process it and all that, you know, because there is that there is that thing that when you're married, like you know, there's some men, like it's either their way of the highway, like that's how it is, you know. But you still see that there are some marriages, and I'm talking about Africa, whereby there is always conversing, talking about what's going on in their life, sitting down and discussing, can we do this, can we do this, can we do this? And you find that if that's how you are discussing your things, everybody's input was being was put into consideration. Even sometimes you have to put your kids in your discussions, especially when they're older. You can't just go making decisions just like that, and your kids are teenagers or whatever. And even the 5-year-olds, you have to tell them, let's assume you're moving from one place to another, you have at least to notify them that we are going to move. What do you think? Even if it's a 5-year-old and they don't have so much say in it, at least they say something and they feel included. So let's assume like you are in that kind of a marriage whereby your say or your input was never recognized, and you have come to live in the US, and then you find that here it's a little bit different because your input, you know, there is that freedom whereby you can talk about something. You can be questioned and you can answer and say, I think this is the right way that we can do. It necessarily doesn't have to be done, but this is how it can be done. Like what I would say about here is that the women, they have a voice, and everybody does have a voice. Even the kids have a voice. So you wouldn't say that the women are more like they are more elevated or whatever. No. What it means is that there is that freedom of expressing yourself, whereby if it's in a family thing, like everybody's input matters. And that is why I'm saying there's some people who have come to America and they're still married, and nothing has happened to them, and their families are intact. See? So that's one thing that I can say that could cause people to divorce, especially if you are not communicating. Because if you are not communicating in Africa, when you come here in the US, you are not going to start communicating. No, you will not. Actually, life here is so crazy whereby if you have kids especially, you can't even work the same shift. You will be forced to work different shifts. Why? Because you have kids, you have to take care of your children. So if you are not having a good marriage, then it is not gonna be changed because you came to live in the US. No. But if you are having a good marriage, you are doing those conversations, and you are open with each other. You are doing your things together, not apart, whereby this person goes and buys a piece of land here, this other one goes and buys a piece of land here, or this person is having affairs on this side, this other person is having affairs on this side. When you go to the house, you don't even have respect for one another. You don't share even your resources. That's not going to change. No, it's not going to change. It's going to continue the same way because, old habits, they die hard. They never, they don't die, actually. So that's one of the things. So that could be a problem that you came from where you are coming from, and then you blame it because maybe your wife decided to leave you. You blame it on coming to America. Another thing you find that, let's assume you came, when you were living there, that person was not going to work, or maybe they were having a business or whatever, but they had an opportunity and they said that they were going to go back to school. Because when you look at people go to school, let me tell you, it doesn't matter, and I tell you guys, the age doesn't matter, but people go to school. And then maybe let's assume the man did not want to go to school. You've seen my videos with Francis, and my husband, he's a businessman. Like for him, even before we landed, even in the US, he had told me that, oh no, I'm not going to go to school. So let's assume like your wife has gone to school, you have supported them to go to school, but then after, maybe they've gone to something like nursing, or maybe they have gone to engineering, or whatever they have done. Then when they have graduated and they are working, then as a man, you start feeling like they are too high, or maybe like, there is the balance is not there. Maybe the wife is making more money than you are, and you feel like because she has more money now, she's not going to respect you anymore. I don't think it can be caused by that, unless, I know there are some people who are like, because they have become nurses or they have become in something else different, or they have become doctors or nurse practitioners, then they think that that's enough, they don't need a husband. Yeah, I know there are women who are like that, and we can dispute that there are some women who become very bad and they tend to look down on their husbands. That happens. Still, it can happen, but it takes two to tango, whereby, for me, what I know is that before a marriage fails, two people have contributed, not one person. So there is no way you can have that notion that when you come to the US, the woman is going to have more high power and you're going to divorce, and that's why most Africans are divorced. No, you are not on the ground, so you can't make that decision. There is no way that you can say that's going to happen. Let me turn my camera so that you can see where I'm going. I'm going back home. You cannot say that. What about, so you have come to the US, and I normally tell you, even if you are a doctor, even if you are an engineer, even if you are a nurse, unless you have done your boards and you have been brought in, maybe you want your development, you are doing registered nursing, and you sat down and did your boards, that's when you will be allowed to practice. But it doesn't matter, even if you are a heart doctor out there, and then you are coming from Africa with a development or with whatever, you are not going to practice until you go to you reach some certain milestone, and then you get licensed to practice, because here everything that is practiced you must have a license. So let's assume like you are having a high-end job, and then you are coming in, and maybe the job that you're finding is in a warehouse, or maybe the job the man is finding is in a nursing home, or maybe the job that the man is finding is in a supermarket, and that person was used to a high-end life. And then you find that, and this is normal, like our African men, they have ego, and they are like, I'm not going to do that work, maybe in a nursing home, I'm not going to work in a nursing home, and all that. But the wife decides that they are not choosing. They go ahead, whatever work that comes in, they do that work, and they really don't mind. As so long as he puts food on the table and a roof on top of their head, they will go ahead and do that job and do it right. So what do you think happens in that instance when the man refuses to work? And this is a country whereby both of you have to be working, let me tell you guys. Unless your spouse is making so much money that you are not required to work. This is at the beginning, you will live from hand to mouth, guys. You are going to live from hand to mouth. You are gonna be down there at the lowest point. Down there at the lowest point, whereby it takes both of you to work. But you find that maybe the man has refused to work. Because why? Because he went to a nursing home and he found that he has to clean up people or all that stuff. And most, like the African man, the real African man doesn't even go to the kitchen. You know what I mean? They don't go to the kitchen, they don't do kids, they don't do diapers and all that. And then you are here in a situation where that is what you are doing to earn a living. Most men refuse. I know several who have refused. So where is the peace going to come from in that home? Now take that situation and take it back to Africa and see a man whose work is to wake up in the morning, go and talk to his friends, or wake up in the morning and go and drink beer all day and then come back home. They don't have a good life. It's the same thing. Balance it. Because most men, like, you can't change their mind. They won't do it. They literally are not going to do it. And you're like, then if you don't want to do it, then go to school. They don't want to go to school. You know what I mean? So how are you going to live with such kind of a person? Because you find that, for me, what I know is that, and this is everywhere, you find that a woman, I don't know if it's because a woman is a weaker gender, they tend to adapt faster wherever they go. Because you can take a woman and you take them to a desert, there's no water or whatever, but they will be the first people to know where there is a stream. That's what happens. That is what happens. It's the same thing. So there is no way that you can say that the divorce is going to be high. So many things contribute to those divorces. If you sit down and you listen to those people who have divorced, it is not because that the women have decided that because they have a say, or the laws are going to favor them. The law doesn't favor anybody here. Like I tell you guys, here you have your social, you have everything. Even if the woman decides to beat up the man, they will go to jail for that. It's not a joke. So there is no way that you can say that the divorce is high because of all that. So many things happen when people come to the US. There's a lot of culture shock. It's a place whereby the man has never gone to and if you haven't watched most of my videos, the ones that I've done with Francis, listen to them. He says outright that he had never gone to the kitchen, of which he hadn't. But when we came here in the US, he had to. Why? Because we set up a schedule whereby I had to work at night. I've worked at night most of my life in the US. I've worked night shift, and then he had to work during the day because of the nature of his work, so that when he's outside, I am at home. When I am at home, he is out. That has been our life. But we sat down and made a plan. But you find that if you do not plan, and another thing is that you don't have so many people to look up to here, because you will find that there is so many distractions when you come to the US, guys. Like so many distractions. For example, when you come in, you will want to fit into a certain group, or you want to fit into a certain whatever, a certain group of women, or maybe they have something that's going on, and you're not looking at where you're coming from. So let's assume that those people like to go out every month. They would like to go out, and it's okay to go out. I don't have anything wrong with going out, but maybe wherever we are going out every month, we have to spend $100, and it's not bad. No. But have you sat down with your spouse and told him? In the African way, you find that a woman going out like that one is it's a little bit odd. It's a little bit odd. So and of course something like drinking, even smoking, that one is not prohibited to anybody. People like drink, people smoke. But is it gonna change you? Is it gonna change who you are? Is it gonna change your values? If I came from Kenya and I was not drinking, what would make me start drinking because I came to the US? That's how I see it. If I came from Africa and we were having good conversations with my husband, we were doing business together, we were bringing up our family together, what would change that? You know what I mean? So there are so many things that that make a marriage fail, especially here in America. And when you look at those things and you listen to people who have divorced, you listen to people who have separated, you listen to their story, there is that blame game, but at the same time you look and compare to if this was Africa, would a situation closer to this would have happened to cause this divorce? Oh yeah, there could be. So when you come into the US, and then I was talking about the people we look up to. The most population that I would say, if you look at the most populations of immigrants, the women are many. Believe me, women are more many than the men. There are a lot of women. And of course, the whole world, the female gender has always been more than the women. So you find that most of these people came to the US when they were 20 years old, and they've lived their life by themselves. Maybe they had kids, their kids are older, or maybe they are single or whatever. So that person has never been in conversation with someone on how to navigate life. And that's the kind of families that you're finding. So how are you going to look up to those people so that you are able to maybe to keep the values of your marriage, not to forget your African values of your marriage? Because the moment you forget those, then that is where the problem comes in. Because when you go back to Africa, you find that there is clusters, and I know it might feel discriminating, but I know that there are several age sets. I would say age sets, whereby you find that you can find a girl like my daughter Christine, and then you can find an older girl or a lady who has finished college. Now, who has finished high school? That's another set. You can find another girl who has finished college. That's another set. You can find another lady, she just got married, maybe she's 1 year, and that's another set. You can find another lady who has been married for 10 years. Another one has been married for 20 years. Another one has been married for 30 years. What am I trying to say is that there are those age sets. The same case even with the people that we are, we know, I tend to, myself individually, I tend to liken myself with the, with what is kind of similar to what I'm doing or the life that I am living. So if you come in and you find that maybe the people that you found here, most of them they have never even gotten married. Maybe they have had boyfriends, 1, 2, 3, whatever. And then maybe you join that kind of group. And then I'm not saying that single people are bad. No, I am not. And I am not saying that you should not have friends who are single. No, that is not what I am saying. What I'm saying is you join such a group without thinking. And then you want to do everything that they are doing. Then there is something that is going to happen to your home that is not going to be good. Because you would have, if you're going if someone has all the freedom, if they want to go out, they can go out anywhere, anytime. They can do whatever they want. But there is something that is, you are committed to something that kind of restricts you a little bit, not 100%, just a little bit, to do what you would do. You know, a married person cannot do what a single person can do. And then you meet people who will be bold enough and they're going to tell you, here men do not tell you what to do. And then you listen. Because the problem that most people have is that they listen. And you do not make your own judgment. Listening is good, but why are you letting that person make that decision for you? Or maybe there's something that's going on, because challenges are going to be there, guys, especially when you're starting life. It's not easy. It's going to be hard. But maybe you are going to look for advice from the wrong person. Instead of sitting down with your spouse and talking it out, you talk about it, and then you know, if there is no conclusion or if there is trouble, then you have worked it out. You have tried all your best. You have talked it out. You've tried everything. Instead of going to here, we don't have like the way, and I don't know if that happens anymore, because I see it's changing even in Africa, whereby the young people they are tending to lose the culture. I do remember that earlier, if you had a problem with your spouse, you would go to the family. So there was someone in the family that you would go to and you would tell them what's going on, and then that couple would kind of try to maybe advise you. Here it is not like that. Here, instead of going to your friends, get a marriage counselor, because that's a professional who is gonna help you and assist you in whatever that's going on with your life. Because it's, you know, this is a serious thing. You have moved from Africa, you have come from you have come to like a completely different life, completely different culture, completely different everything. So it affects you. Sometimes maybe there is depression, whereby you find that because of all the culture shock and all the changes that have gone on, your body wasn't able to take it very well, or your spouse's body was not able to take it well, and you are having friction. Instead of going to friends, because most of the friends, especially those who are not married or those who got married and they divorced, they are going to tell you, don't let a man tell you what to do. But what about the kids? Because it all comes to the children. What about them? And I'm not saying that you should say in an abusive marriage, if it's bad, get out. But there are some things that you listen to and you are like, oh my gosh, that's just lame, you know, like they should have done better than that. Or maybe the wife decides that she's going to have her own friends who are going to be advising her, and the husband is going to have his own friends who are going to be advising him. And then so you take all your troubles to this person, and then the man takes his troubles to this person, because it's a married couple, and this one is also a married couple. But then they don't know if those people talk behind their back. And at the end of the day, the family splits up. And if the family splits up, then that's it. You know what I mean? That's it. So why not look for a marriage counselor? Pay, make payments. You know, it's not free of charge. Or maybe you go to your local church and say, to ask them if they have resources, because resources are there. Because what we want to do is that when people come to the US with a DV lottery, we do not want them to end up, they came up as a happy family and then they end up divorcing. Unless it was bad. If it was bad in Africa, you had a bad marriage. When you come here, oh my gosh, you will divorce even the first year into the US, you will be divorced. That's what's going to happen. But if you had a good one, like you have, all those essential good things about marriage, respect, communication. I think communication is the heart of marriage, you know what I mean? Because if you don't talk to your spouse, then who else are you going to talk to? Most people don't even talk to each other. And then create time for each other, because here in the US, it's challenging. It's very easy not even to have time for each other because of the schedules and the kids. Sometimes, I'm coming from work and Francis has to go somewhere early in the morning. So he has to maybe prepare the other kids and make sure that they have gone to school. And then we have the little one who doesn't go to school. So sometimes we will meet in the petrol station and exchange. I take the child, I go back home, and then he goes to work. So if you have that kind of a schedule and you don't think that you need to create time for each other, you need to spend time together, then you will grow apart. And then when you grow apart, because it's very easy to grow apart here in the US, like very, very, very easy, guys. Very, very, very easy. The schedules are crazy. And there's some people who come in here and all they want to do is work all the time. If there are hours, because when you come in and you enter into the system, they will always call you for overtime or whatever. Learn how to say no. You don't have to work all the time. No. Learn how to say no, that today I'm not going to go. It's my day off. Why should I go and work overtime? And actually, working overtime doesn't even help much, because you work overtime, you're paid a time and a half. But when it comes to be taxed, that money that you worked time and a half is going to be taxed more. It's not going to be taxed by like your regular wages. No, it's not going to be taxed. So when you look at it, and then the more you make, let's assume you make more in a certain bracket, you find that you will end up even paying during tax time. So you end up paying some money, because you worked so many hours or whatever, or you worked more, you work whatever you worked according to how you filled out your paperwork for the W-2, then you did pay more to the government, or you weren't taxed more. So you have a debt you have to pay. So when you look at all those dynamics, then you stop. You don't take a full stop. You're like, I am not going to be working all the time. Unless you have a target. Like for example, let's assume you want to go to school, and when the time that you will not be going to school, then you decide that you're going to work. And then when you go to school, then you stop. You can have a target whereby you work a lot of many hours, because there's something that you want to achieve, a goal. You can do that. But always say no. When we came in, I do remember that at my job, my first job, they would always call, and I would go for overtime on my day off, and then I would be so tired, and even in my regular days, I would be so tired. So one time, I had guests, I do remember, who were coming to my house, and I went to my boss, and I had been picking up hours and everything, and then I told her I can't come to work. And then she told me, and she's the one who used to call me to go and work overtime. She told me that if I missed work that day, then she would write me up. So I ended up still calling in, because I wouldn't miss my guests and all that stuff because of work. I was like, no, because I had planned it, and I had planned it a long time ago. But then I was still learning about the schedules, but I had asked for that day off like 2 weeks before. It's the way you ask for a day off and then they forget, and or maybe you don't write it and then they forget, and then when you go to remind them, they have completely forgotten. But then after that incident, I asked myself, if I am readily available all the time when they call me and they want me to work extra, then if I am in need, then why wouldn't I be taken seriously? You see what I mean? So that puts, that triggers something in your mind, and then you are like, if you work all the time, then you will never even get time for yourself. You'll never even get time for your kids. You'll never even get time for your family. Here in the US it's very challenging, because there are stories of people who work, especially when your kids are older. You just go to work. Maybe you work at night and you don't even see them, because when you work at night, especially if you work all days at night, because you can if you want to. There are some people who do that, but then you get sick. If you work at night, normally what happens is that by the time you are going home, you are very tired. So you'll just take a shower, take your breakfast, and you will go to bed. And your kids are older at that point. You don't have little ones, so you don't have to worry much. So, and then you have to wake up around 5. Maybe they're riding the bus, and because they're riding the bus, so it's gonna be a little bit. You don't even need to go and get them. And then you really don't need to cook, because you can order pizza or maybe whatever. They can order some food out because you are working, you have all the money. But then those children grow up, and when they are grown up, then you are like, you don't even know what's going on with their life and all that and everything. And then when they are older, they start realizing that you should have been there for them. They start realizing that you were always absent, you always went to work. Yes, it's okay, it's good for them, they had money all the time. But what about the time that you spent with them? They see that, they see the gap. Sometimes stuff happens to your kids, and you don't even know when stuff happened to them. You don't know. And then you end up getting surprises in your own house. And you live there, and then you are like, oh my God, when did this happen? So creating time for your kids and your spouse is important. So those are that's just a tip of the iceberg, guys, about life here in the US. So you can't blame it on like the women have all the freedom and all that. No, you cannot. Your values, the state of your marriage before you left Africa, that will play into how successful your marriage is gonna be. But if you are fighting every day, you didn't have respect for your spouse, you never had any communication, there was nothing that was going on in both of your lives, then there is no way that you cannot expect that it's going to survive here. Because when women come here, even if they don't go to school, their jobs, she can go and work in the supermarket, she can go and work as a CNA or whatever. But if you don't treat her right, then there is not going to be marriage. Even for men, if it's a woman and you have gone to school, and then you decide that because you have gone to school, then your husband is nothing. He's not going to stay there and watch you like treat him badly. No. It doesn't work like that, guys. But you have to know your self-worth, or what do you stand for? What are your values? Because our values, the way we grew up, the way I grew up, I haven't left that, I haven't deviated from that very much. I haven't, and I don't see anything going wrong, simply because I came to the US. Simply because I'll go to school and I will become a nurse. Simply because maybe 10 years later I will have ABCD. And when you come to think, I think this comes with maturity. When you're mature and you've lived more years, and you get an understanding that all the wealth in this world really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, it's gonna be very little that you will be left with. Very, very, very little that you will be left with. And I'm saying this with all due respect. Oh, goodness gracious, where am I going? I'm saying this with all due respect because you've watched people, very prominent people, at their deathbed. Let me give this example. There was this guy who was very, very, very rich. Very, 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 very rich. And he would afford even to go overseas to be treated, his disease and everything, but he ended up dying. Now, when you look at, when you listen to people's stories, or you see some incidences, because the more you grow, the more you see experiences, the more you see very many things. By the time someone is dying, there is so little left for you. Maybe your deathbed, maybe a few things, maybe your phone, because you will have it there, but you won't even be looking at it. Even your big farms, even your big cars, even your nice clothes, you won't even be wearing them, because maybe you will be wearing a hospital gown at your deathbed. So when you look at all that, you see all the wealth, it's not going to help that situation. It's good to be wealthy, it's good to have good things, yes, but is it worth to divorce your husband or to divorce your wife simply because you have achieved something? I don't think it is. And let me tell you, what I know is that here in the USA or here in America, especially for our African people, when you are divorced, and so you had a marriage and it was a good marriage, but you got out because of a stupid thing. You know, there are some that are like that are very serious, and for those who are very, the ones that are very serious, just get out. Don't wait to be killed or whatever. But if it's something that can be, it's something that can be solved. You know, everybody is a work in progress. If both of you are willing to work on yourselves, and you know that you can solve it, and there is no physical violence, and there is no any kind of abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse, or whatever, then if it's something that you know that you can work on it, and you have gone for counseling, you have sought the right help, then it's worth it to work for it. Because this is what happens. You bring you divorce, right? Your kids are gonna grow older, and you will be left by yourself. Believe me, you are going to be left by yourself. And then what happens? This is not like Africa, whereby you can go to church and meet a spouse, or maybe you can go for a funeral and meet a spouse because there are so many people. Or you go to the village and you're just there and you meet a spouse, or maybe you go for any gathering. You have gone for a wedding, you have gone for a baby shower, you have gone for, you know, there's all those things that are done: wedding, baby showers, funerals, everywhere, parties, mogidi, you know, all that stuff. People meet their church, fellowship, whatever. There is nothing like that. Because let me tell you, here, if you are going to church, you will go to church for like an hour and then you go back home. If there's a funeral, it's going to be a few people, not like a congregation of 1,000 people who have gone for one person's funeral. No, it doesn't work like that here. It will be a funeral of like 30, 20 people, 50 people. 50 people is even a larger number. And then you have your schedule that is so tight, you don't even have time to interact. So you find that the probability, yes, you can be lucky. I'm not saying that you cannot be lucky and get a second marriage. But you know, if you failed on the first one, then you have to work on yourself very, very, very well. You know, and work on those things, because there's something that made you get divorced from that marriage. You have to work on that. And if you are the one who was on the fault, then you work on it. So because if you don't change, then it's going to repeat on the other relationship. That's how things work. So you find that at the end of the day, you're going to be left by yourself. And then when you are left by yourself, your kids will be too busy with their families that they will not have time to take care of you. So you are going to grow old and everything. So the only resort that you will have is to be taken back in Africa. It's good to be taken back in Africa because you will be with your people. But what relationship did you have with your family members? That's another thing. Because you find that most people who are living in the US, what they are doing, they're buying farms or plots or high-end homes, and some of them, they buy them and it's nothing that they're buying. They end up losing millions of dollars. So you'll be taken to that mansionette that you built for yourself, and you will not have anybody because your kids will be here in the US, and you don't have a very, how can I say? Yes, you still have your people, but since you are in the US, you lived in the US for a long time, they will expect you to be a giver. And that's how life works. It seems cruel, but that's how life works. And maybe you don't have much to give. So you will end up with living a lonely life, of which if you had your spouse, maybe you would have lived a better life, even communicating. You know, here in the US, I see people getting married, even when they're 80 years old, they're 70 years old, they're 60 years old, and they still get married. And it's a good thing because they're getting married for companionship. You need someone to talk to. Like for me, I don't know if I can say with someone that I am not talking to, especially, you know, marriage is serious business. You are creating life with that person. You are creating, those are memories that they are, like it's something that's beautiful, and you should be able to share it with a person who really, 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 really is into it, and so that companionship, you're not gonna have it Because here, then you can even live by yourself here in the US, but there's unless there is a meeting, or maybe you are, it's still gonna be a lonely life, guys. Because yes, you can have your kids, but they're gonna have their own separate life. So what am I saying? I'm saying the marriage can still stay. The marriage can still be there. But look back and see, is there a source of this problem? Was there a problem before these people came? Because living lottery doesn't change your situation. No, it doesn't. What it does is that if you had a good relationship, it's gonna elevate that relationship. But if you had a bad one, what happens is that when you come to the US, because there's money, there's resources, someone will work, they will get their own money. It's not gonna be very hard to rent your own apartment and buy your own car and live your own life. That there's that freedom. It's there. So that's why you find that if it's not working, most people just get out. And we are living in a world whereby people are a little bit impatient. I remember when we were growing up, I think in my mother's time, whereby I would see if something happened in a marriage, and those things were a secret. We never used to know them very well. When we used to be like if the woman went back home, they would send some men to come to my grannies. Those were adult things. So we were just little, but we would just look at the sidelines. And now when I look at it, I understand. And then maybe your aunt had come home with the kids, and then these men would come, and then they would be secluded somewhere. They would talk about it, and then the lady then would carry her kids and her stuff, and then she would go back. So it used to be like that. And of course things change, and things have changed a lot, and it's a good thing or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, you can still have a good life, a good married life here in the US if you stay in your lane. Everybody has to stay in their lane. If you're driving, if you're a driver and you don't stay in your lane, what happens? You cause an accident, right? So you have to stay in your lane. By staying in your lane is that maintain those communications, maintain that respect. It's your husband, you know what I mean? Don't treat them badly because you went and got a degree for something. No, don't do that. Create time for each other and close your. There was this song, I can't remember that song, that it was a vernacular song that person was saying that when the people start telling you about our marriage or telling you about me, you close your ears with cotton wool. That's how you should be when you come here in the US. Close them, because you never know. Even someone is telling you that your man is bad or whatever, or your woman is bad, and you don't know what they want in the between there. Because when people divorce, other people benefit from that. Maybe someone did not have papers somewhere, and you have your own papers, and the one person will benefit in one way or another, and another one will benefit in one way or another. So it's a long story, guys, when you come to the US. So you have to be very wise. You have to know what you're doing, and you have to be, oh my gosh, I don't know what I can tell you guys. But what I do here in my channel is just to try and open up your eyes, so that when you come and live here in the USA, you are wise. You are wiser, and you know how to live. You know how to, you have an idea of what goes on around here in the USA. You don't have to take my advice 100%, but when you listen, you become wiser and you're able to make your own decisions. So yes, divorce is there. It happens, especially the immigrants, they divorce. But I think, according to my own views and research, is that those are some of the things that make people either excel in their marriage or not excel in their marriage. So guys, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to like my videos. Don't forget to make those comments. It's from those comments that I get a topic to talk to you about. And I thank you for all your support, and God bless you.